Welcome back to Baltimore Backyards. I'm Chris Swain. If you haven't watched part 1 or 2 of our conversation with Maren Gimple at Foreman's Branch Bird Observatory Center for Environment and Society at Washington College in Chestertown, be sure to jump back in the playlist to catch up on those. In this episode, we continue to learn about their program and get you some tips on how you can help them. A big focus of yours is migration. A lot of people that are probably going to watch this have an interest in birds in the way that they like to watch them. They'll set up feeding stations, general birders. So from someone who studies this perilous journey, because migration can be really rough, what are the benefits of feeding stations, and what can the everyday person do to help these animals get from A to B? Because obviously we've done a lot to work against them, and that's a bell we can't unring. So we kind of got to play along with it now, right?
Some people worry that if they feed birds that somehow they're interfering with, their normal behavior, or, hummingbirds, oh, if I leave my hummingbird out too late, am I tricking them into staying? And then it's going to get too cold and then the bird perishes. There's no reason to worry about that. There's no study that has shown, that putting out bird seed can be a problem, with a few exceptions. One exception is, if you're going to put out feeders, it's really important to keep them clean. If you've ever seen a bird that has sort of a swollen, runny eye, birds can actually get conjunctivitis, like pink eye, and that can be transmitted through feeders that aren't kept clean. So it is a good idea sort of once a week or so to sort of take down your feeders, scrub them out. If you get one of those like long bottle brushes or something, with a mild, like a pretty diluted bleach solution, is a good way to just keep your feeder clean. It's nice to have a variety of types of seed so that you can feed different kinds of birds. Not all birds want to perch on feeders. Some of them want to be on the ground. Some of them can perch on the small little perches, and some of them more sort of want a flatter place, right? So having a variety of feeders, like I've seen in your YouTube videos behind the station, that's a really good way to just enjoy, like different kinds of birds as well. Native plants. There's a lot of native plants. If anybody likes birds and is also into gardening, then you're providing food that you don't have to buy at the store, right? Buy the plant once, put it out, and whether it's nectar plants, whether it's things that are going to fruit in the fall, just go to your local garden center and find out who's managing like the nursery section and ask for recommendations for really good native plants. That's a great thing. Where you put your feeders can have a difference. If you've ever seen a feather stuck to your window or like a bird outline, if your feeder there's sort of a sweet spot where if it's far enough away from, a window, a hawk can come by and startle a bird, and when they try and escape, they can smack into your window. But if you put it closer to the window, then even if they hit the window, they wouldn't have as much speed, so they wouldn't hit it as hard. So I think it's like sort of less than 4 feet from a window or greater than 15 feet, I think is what I've read, but you can Google that. So where you put your feeders, if you have a window that birds have hit, you can look into getting these decals. One hawk silhouette on a giant picture window is not going to do it. You really ideally want some kind of pattern that is much more concentrated on a window, say sort of every 2 to 4 inches spacing. But you can, if you don't want to put something on your whole window, do you have curtains that you can close? Do you have a plant you can hang, or wind chimes, anything to sort of break up the image of that solid glass so that birds, don't think they can get through it. If you have a cat, think about keeping it inside. I know it's hard if you have a cat that's used to going out, but anybody that's maybe going to get a new cat, cats do kill millions and millions of birds and small rodents and rabbits. And a lot of people think their little fluffy isn't doing it, but there are studies that show even if they're not leaving you a present on your doormat, while free roaming cats are having a big negative impact on wildlife. And then I guess the last thing that comes to mind is, especially during migration, to turn off any outside lights at night that you don't need. Most small songbirds migrate at night and they use the stars to navigate. And so our cities have created a really confusing impediment to birds, especially if the weather is somewhat foggy and they can't see the stars and all they see are lights. So a lot of these big events that people hear about, whether you wake up and there's just birds everywhere or mass collision incidents. A lot of that has to do with lights and glass in bad weather. So there's a lot of groups now that will post sort of warnings like, hey, the conditions look really great for migration the next 3 nights. Like if you feel like you need your lights on at night, at least maybe for the next 3 nights, can you turn them off and don't leave that porch light on all night. There's a lot of resources about that out there. And actually, there's a Lights Out Baltimore group that works on sort of reaching out to the buildings. Maybe that this tends to be in the inner city, but the buildings where they have the most incidents of birds colliding, and talking to the building owners or managers. And, is there a lighting change that you can make to sort of give birds a break? Because it's a tough journey to go from, they might be starting way north of us, right? These birds could have left northern Quebec and they're trying to get to Jamaica. So it's a long journey, and we're just one stop along their way.
Thanks for watching this 3-part series on Foreman's Branch Bird Observatory Center for Environment and Society at Washington College in Chestertown. Remember, we're always on the lookout for your photos of birds in your Baltimore backyards. Send your bird pics to pix@wmar.com and we'll feature them on one of our episodes. I'm Chris Swain. See you next time. If you've enjoyed that episode of Baltimore Backyards, you can check out more episodes by clicking this box down here. And while you're at it, go ahead and tap that circle to subscribe to WMAR 2 News for great content posted every day.